Hello, Navigate team. It sure does feel like it's been a long time since we've been together, but I wanted to take a few moments to share with you some updates and gather your feedback on some of the items that we're going to be discussing on October 30th. So first of all, lots of thank yous. Thank you to all of you guys who piloted the DLE module last summer. And to those of you who were trailblazers who completed the Rigor Relevance Framework modules, that work was deeply appreciated. To the DLFs who worked this summer to give feedback to teachers and to Angie and to provide all of that coaching, thank you to you guys. And I also want to thank all of you who are instructional staff who are supporting teachers right now. We know our teachers need more support than ever before, as many of them are very uncomfortable according to the survey about teaching in a remote environment or a hybrid environment. So thank you guys for all that you're doing. To the Trailblazers who've signed up for another year of Pushing Forward, we are appreciative of you and your service. And also, thank you to those of you who provided this feedback to me on the state of Navigate. I know that was a lengthy document, and for those of you who actually took the time to read it and gave feedback, it really did mean a lot, so thank you so much. So wanted to kind of start with a reminder of the role of the Trailblazer teacher. And a Trailblazer is an innovator, someone who's a pioneer, someone who may really not know what they're getting into because there is no path, but they're willing to take risks and forge that path to leave that for others. A Trailblazer is someone who is willing to engage in challenging work. And it's not for everybody, because we ask you to work ahead, to work harder, and to try things and to give us feedback where things don't work. And I think that's one of the best things about teacher leadership in this district, whether it used to be on the tech team or is on the curriculum team or as Trailblazer teacher, is the willingness to give that feedback. We also know that being a Trailblazer or being a teacher in general, our role as leaders is to push you slightly out of that comfort zone. And you know, one of my favorite sayings is that we want to push you hard enough to make you uncomfortable, but not hard enough for you to break. So that Trailblazer role is very important in our Navigate work. So in meeting our Trailblazer team, or our Navigate team for this year, we don't have any new Trailblazer teachers. All of you guys who are serving in that role were all members of our team last year, but we do have some new Navigate team members. At the high school, we have Todd Davis and Carla May. They are both new assistant principals at the high school. At the middle school, we have Jennifer Green. She is our new assistant principal at the middle school. And at the central office, we have Karen Boyles, who is our new CTE director. We do have some new admin staff that have shifted seats, but they aren't necessarily new to our team. So we have moved some seats on the bus, but we're all in the same place. So moving forward, I want to share with you guys some Navigate professional learning update and give you a chance to think about some feedback you can give us. When the coronavirus came, it totally upended our plan for Navigate, and so it really shifted around our roadmap. And you know, our goal was that we were going to start Rigor Relevance this year with all teachers, but it became very apparent that shifting the horses and going to architecting a digital learning environment and putting procedures in place were likely much more important. So take a good long look at this old roadmap, because it's the last time you're probably going to see it, because we are shifting away from this model and trying to make it a lot cleaner. So I'm going to share with you the beginnings of what's going to be our new learning roadmap for teachers. What we realized is this is a great roadmap for us at the central office and us in leadership, because it gives us an idea of where we're going and what's coming next. But what we're also finding out is things are shifting so quickly that we're moving things and we're adding things and we're taking things out. And so it becomes overwhelming to a teacher who's down here, who just last year did culture and learner-centered culture and is working here and feels like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get there? And this stuff could change. So what we've decided to do is make it really clear. So you'll notice that our new updated Navigate Learning Roadmap for Teachers provides just the two components of the Architect a Learner-Centered Culture and the Architect a Digital Learning Environment. We also notice here that there's an offshoot of the instructional core, because that is the piece that, as principals and mentors see a need, that they can use that to support some teachers with their specific professional learning needs. For you guys, you'll see that your roadmap looks quite a bit different from our teachers, because last year you guys started Rigor Relevance and you guys did part 1 and part 2, and many of you actually finished your fluencies there before you picked up on Architect a Digital Learning Environment. Some of you finished that this summer, some of you are working on that now. Many of you have gotten your fluency, but you're working towards your getting that level 3 on all components of the rubric. So when I look at you guys, Trailblazers, your DLFs at each school have a beautiful spreadsheet that lays out every single person's name and every component you have completed. So I'm going to show you some data in just a second. But for the most part, Trailblazers, you guys are, most of you are finished. You all should be finished. Let me make no mistake of that. You all should have this done and should be well on your way to working here. That's perfectly fine. Most of you are finished with, should be all finished with your fluency, because fluency for all teachers was due on September 30th. So if you're not fluent there, you need to be. And most of you, though, are continuing to work toward getting to that level 3. And many of you are still underway with your Rigor Relevance work. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's next for you guys. But right now I want to show you some data. So in last year's module, Architect a Learner-Centered Culture, that you guys are continuing to finish, remember you have to complete all components. So I'm going to take you back for a second. So to get the fluency on this module, you have to actually show fluency on all components in everything here in the blue. So like I said, you guys, some of you are still working in this blue circle. So right now, what we have is there are 19 of you. And out of the 19 of you, 4 of you have completely finished Architect a Learner-Centered Culture fluency. The rest of you are in progress. Everybody's started. In our district, so 21% of you guys are done. In our district, we have 182 teachers working through this module, and we have about 10% complete, and 182 out of 182 users. So you'll see that we do have a small group, 21 folks have not started. I want to keep in mind, though, that some of those are new teachers to our district, and they are focused on their digital learning environment right now. The Rigor Relevance fluency, I want to talk a little bit more about this in a bit, but right now about 15.8% of you guys have completed this fluency, and several of you are working, but many of you haven't started, and that sort of is a red flag for me, because you guys were all supposed to not only start that in November, but even folks that were new to us in March were supposed to at least work on this module and have something to show for it by August, even after post-COVID. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then our Architect a Digital Learning Environment, that's what we're working on right now. And you guys are jamming right along on that. For Trailblazers, about a little over 68% of you guys have demonstrated your fluency. I am concerned that we have Trailblazers who have not started this work when the literacy was due prior to school starting in August, and the fluency was due, at least you were turning something into your DLF. Maybe your DLF hasn't gotten to you, but nobody should be in the gray on Trailblazers. So you might want to go back and check and see what's going on. And I can actually look and see, but it'd probably be a good practice if you think you might be this person or these folks. We got 2 folks that have not started. Also with our district, really moving along well with our district, we have 33% of our district has completed digital learning environment. So that's awesome. And so what I'm hoping that you guys see as our teacher leaders and as our admin is, our goal with professional learning is not to have you jump through hoops, but it's to truly provide you with professional learning that is timely, stepping back and seeing what the needs are right now. And the goal truly is to work on reflection and your growth. It's really important to know our why and to understand that and be able to articulate that. And part of that why goes back to the personal vision. And some of you might say, well, we did our personal vision last year, and I think that you're absolutely right, but I think some of the best feedback we get from as teachers is from our students, and gathering that instructional feedback on how they perceive our instruction. You know, asking them questions about their experience with our learner management system or learning management system can really support our growth through the rubric on the digital learning environment. Also, the work we're doing through digital learning environment, through learner-centered culture, and through rigor relevance, everything you guys are doing are hitting on every single one of these standards. All of the learner-centered culture work really hits here and here. Your role as a trailblazer teacher hits here. When you guys are unpacking standards and creating learning roadmaps for your kids and demonstrating that knowledge and understanding of your content, data notebooks, that's here. And then facilitating learning, your rigor relevance work on that module is all about facilitating high quality, rigorous, relevant instruction. Your personal vision, as well as those coaching sessions that you have with your coach, are all part of Standard 5. So everything that you're doing with Navigate is pushing right to demonstrating your proficiency through the NESA's standards. So I want to talk about your next step. We kind of showed you kind of where we are, and now I want to talk a little bit about where we're going. So we've made a few tweaks to our professional learning playlist. You guys are really jamming along with your digital learning environment, and many of you are getting close to being finished with learner-centered culture. So we want to talk about finishing up, those of you that did not finish rigor relevance, kind of getting on that, and also introducing a very short new module called Architecting Procedures for the Modern Learning Environment. So what that's going to look like in your roadmap is the addition of a new module here in yellow. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And there she is. So Architect Procedures for the Modern Learning Environment, you will see, is a very short module. There's actually a pre-assessment and only 3 learning tiles. So this one, and this one, and then a post-assessment. The fluency is one actual fluency that you do. You do some brainstorming, you do something, and then you get coached. So it's one activity. The way I like to describe this module is like Harry Wong, and all of you that have been in education for some time like me know who Harry Wong is. It's like Harry Wong meets the digital learning environment. It's how do we set up procedures, the way we operate, so that not only students take ownership, but they can troubleshoot. So this is the way I kind of describe it. So in your fluency, you're going to brainstorm some standard operating procedures, and you guys probably already have these intact for your digital learning environment and your physical learning environment, if that be the case. And you're going to create those, and it says with students, but it's basically for students, and the with students is getting that feedback from students, and then getting some coaching or reflection time with your coach. An example would be something that Cindy and Angie put together on a Chromebook troubleshooting guide. So when a kid's at home and they're struggling with their Chromebook, instead of having to email you or to chat you or to send a remind message to you, that they at least have some troubleshooting guides, some standard operating procedures for how it works. Another option would be, what are the standard operating procedures for group work, that sort of thing, so that kids know when you are not right there with them how they can either troubleshoot or what the procedures are for movement in the classroom, for group work, etc. This is a very short module, and I'm being a little generous on the CEUs here because it will not take you 3 hours to do the literacy tiles. It will probably take you about 35 minutes and 3 hours for fluency in terms of you putting together something and getting your coaching. So 0.6 CEUs of DLC credit. So I want to kind of give you guys your upcoming due dates. So your digital learning environment fluency, I want to kind of remind you guys, that was supposed to be due on September 30th. So that ship has sailed. If you've not done that yet, make sure you're getting on it. Your architect procedures, the new one I just shared with you, very short, We'd love for you guys to have that done if possible, and we'll talk about the if possible on December 18th. You guys already had your fluency on your 2 elements of digital learning environment, but what we'd like to see you is get to level 3 on all elements by May 27th. And I think every school has done a good job of setting up your own timelines for what that looks like. And then for those of you that did not finish Architect a Learner-Centered Culture last year, we're giving everybody till the end of the year to get that done. For Trailblazers, this is a definite. You need to be working ahead of your peers. So by the end of the year, trying to make sure you've got those data notebooks, the learning plan, or at least the start of a learning plan. All of those unpacking standards, those pieces here in this blue box, the learning walls, learning plans, unpacking standards, and data notebook. Those pieces, if you've not gotten those done, I think you guys all have these 4 done. So that's what's coming up. For our teachers, we have teachers at one school that have jammed through almost all this. They're kind of ahead as a cohort. They're actually ahead of the Trailblazers. So we're going to leave that up to the principal, as always, to kind of push ahead to architecting procedures if they want to add that to the teacher roadmap as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is our teacher navigate timeline. And this is where I'm going to get some more feedback from y'all at the end of this video. We set a target date, and I really want to be clear what I mean by target date. Target date means we sure would love it if everybody could. But you guys, I know not every learner is the same, just like our kids. And I kind of want to give you a fitting analogy. I spent years of my professional life when I was a teacher coaching volleyball and track. And the irony is that Shane Whitener used to coach for Newton Conover, and I used to coach for Hickory High, and we had some good battles. And now I'm so glad Shane and I are on the same team. But the thing about track and field that's very exciting is that you always have runners that are super talented and super fast and super athletic, and they always win the race. Always. And then you have runners that work really hard and they consistently improve and they consistently get better, but they're never going to be as fast as the winner. But they are continuously improving. And when I look at our timeline of what is possible, I know, just like the kids in your class, just like runners in any race, we're going to have some folks that can bust through this, and by these May 27th deadlines, they're going to have that done by December, January. I also am realistic and understand that we have teachers that are trying their doggone level best that are never going to finish their work by May. It's just not going to happen because they're going to need more time to dig a little deeper and to get the coaching required. And that's one element I want us to consider, is looking at, is this timeline feasible for teachers? The second thing I want to look at is this timeline really feasible for coaches? Because if we look at what we're asking our instructional APs and our instructional coaches to coach by May 27th for every teacher, the thing about the DLE, it doesn't require a classroom walkthrough. That's everything you guys are doing this year with the digital learning environment rubric. It doesn't require a walkthrough. It's just conversations you have with your coach, looking at a rubric and getting feedback. The data notebooks, the unpacking standards, the learning wall, the learning plan, of course they all have their rubrics, but it also deals with having a classroom walkthrough like we did last year with Shared Vision and Classroom Code. First of all, I don't know that there's enough hours in the day for the coaches and the APs to actually get every teacher the feedback and the coaching that they need. So I'm wondering, and I know some of you guys, one school in particular, you're almost done with this or you are done with it except for new people. So I want you guys to consider for your school, and I'm going to give you some time to break out in our meeting on the 30th, for your school, what is feasible for the folks that are giving the feedback and what is feasible for the teachers, and should we adjust that timeline? Here's what my goal is. My goal for every teacher in this district, as you know, is to keep that needle moving forward. I think we're doing great work in the digital learning environment and have gotten some great feedback for folks. But I want to make sure we don't just stop on the work that's already going on. We can't, the digital learning environment is great in terms of environment, but we've got to get back to standards 2 and 3 and 4, facilitating instruction, meeting the differentiated needs of kids, and working with our standards. So we can't just focus so hard on one area that we completely neglect the other. So I want to make sure we come back to this, but what is a feasible timeline? And does that timeline vary for cohorts? Because in the past, we've had different cohorts per school. So principals, APs, coaches, and Trailblazers, I want you to be thinking about that. At the end of this, you are going to have a form to give us some feedback so that we can combine that per school and kind of think about how we want to move forward. So that's that with the professional learning. Now I kind of want to look at another component of Navigate that we've been tweaking a little bit this summer. Started last spring and really dug into it this summer. This was our original profile of a graduate. And those of you that have been on the Navigate team for some time know that we surveyed business and industries, and we asked them what were the knowledge, skills, and dispositions that they needed high school graduates to have, or college graduates, in order to come into their businesses and be able to kind of hit the ground running. We also ask you guys, as a Navigate Trailblazer teachers and administrators and team leaders, what these knowledge, skills, and dispositions you guys believe were crucial for high school graduates to have to go, whether it was to a post-secondary institution, community college, or into the workforce. And we kind of did a synthesis of all of those ideas and came up with this model. The more we looked at this model, the more we just didn't like the colors, and moreover than that, we thought it was so very wordy. So this summer we kind of synthesized everything down and came up with a little bit more visual, and this is just a draft, but basically synthesizing all of those ideas about what is a graduate, what is a good quality graduate who's ready to tackle whatever comes next look like. And the big ideas that came out of this once we synthesized it were a communicator, a student with strong character, a creator, a collaborator, a critical thinker, and someone who had that growth mindset, a mastery learner, someone who was willing to fail and try again. So basically what I want you guys to do in the feedback on the survey is to review the profile of a graduate as it once stood, and I will share this presentation with you so that you can do that, and review the new draft of the profile of a graduate, and give us feedback on, do you like the new, do you prefer the old, or should we throw this out and start again, or what suggestions that you have for us. So that's one of the things I want to give feedback on. I also quickly want to give you guys an update on NCDC 2020. I talked with Shannon Blake, our Modern Teacher rep, last week, and she feels pretty confident that we will be postponing NCDC 2021 until the next year, 2022. Sean Smith, who is the founder of and president or CEO, whatever, of Modern Teacher, is actually working with the same hotel and the same convention center to see if they can book that for 2022. So that means that we will not be hosting, most likely, folks coming into our district in February of this year. It will likely be next year. So we talked about what would happen on site, what would happen in Charlotte, what we'd have to do to prepare, and the Navigate team will be a very important part of all of this. So we probably, most likely, are going to be pushing that back until 2022. And just to kind of keep you guys in the know, we are putting together a virtual school option task force. We have asked, basically we kind of have this understanding that after school, the way school is operated this year, we will never ever be able to not offer virtual school as an option again, not as an option again. So we're looking at what does that look like. So I asked your principals to put together names of the folks they wanted to serve on that virtual school option task force so that they could help us look at the elementary, middle, and high school level and Conover School. What does that look like? What would be the criteria for admission to that? Because you guys know as well as I do, there are some students we know are not successful because they kind of check out in the remote environment. and what that looks like. So I just wanted you guys as Trailblazer teachers to know who the folks were who were on this task force that we would be working with. And of course, we'll be sharing out all that information with you guys. So I've talked long enough. Attached to this email, you're going to find this Google form. Please make sure that you complete that by October 28th. And then on October 30th, log in via your email calendar. I sent through Calendar, through Google Calendar, your Zoom link for our meeting. I look forward to it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I look forward to seeing you guys all virtually on October 30th.